Hello. This is video 2. And perhaps oddly for video 2, this is the beginning of the course. The beginning of why we're here. Data structures. Why are we here? Who am I? That was my bad impression of Lucy Ricardo with amnesia. The data needs structuring. Why? Why does data need structuring? That's the question we'll be trying to answer all module. Well, for one thing, we get a heck of a bunch of meaty programming problems in there to solve and to flex our C++, flex our C++ muscles. Who would have thought that was a tongue twister? So that we get practice with coding on other big projects and so on. That's not a good reason. Why does data need structuring? Well, two-part answer. Two parts. One part. To save time. How do we save time? Well, I started with the most mysterious part of the answer. We will find out all module how structuring data differently than just that good old-fashioned array, the good old-fashioned linked list. We'll be able to make data lookups, accesses to databases and all that sort of stuff much, much faster. That's where the algorithm analysis stuff comes in. It gives us predictions that are pretty much right on target about how fast these things are going to go. So we want our programs to run as quickly as possible. That's one reason. Two, to save space. And that's not outer space. That's inner space. That's space in the memory on your computer. And we already know that. We could talk about that. I made a flashback, and perhaps you are too, of that side-by-side contest comparison between the linked list and the array. Do you remember that as motivation for why we need to dive in and spend the rest of our lives on linked lists? Saving space, if we've got a data structure, and I'm going to not shy away from that term anymore, if we've got a data structure that's supposed to hold all the info about all the Transy students, and there's a possibility we could have up to 1 million students at Transy, let's say. If we're going to use an array, then probably most of that space in that 1,000,000 element array is going to be wasted in most cases. We might only have, up to 300, 400, 500 used at most at any one time. So we save space that way if we use a linked list. That's actually part of the whole point, so that we don't have to overestimate how much space we're going to need to hold the data, and we get to customize it a la carte. We only get space when we need it, when we dynamically allocate it, which is why we went through all that pain and suffering with pointers and dynamic memory allocation and delete and destructors and all that. It was all for bullet point 2. We're actually going to put bullet point 1 in the spotlight for this module, and we will rapidly see what we mean about that. We being the royal we mean, what I mean about that when we get to it. So that's why data needs structuring. And let's see, is that the whole introduction? No, I'm going to say also we need, believe it or not, we need more practice with OOP. PRACTICE with OOP. OOP, I did it again. OOP is abbreviation for operate, but that's not operating. No, it isn't. Object-oriented programming. Come on, coffee. I'm going to have to jack up the my caffeine intake before I even try to do this stuff. Also, we need more practice with object-oriented programming. That's another question. Why? And it's not why do we need more practice. I mean, you practice at anything. Why do we use OOP at all? Two words to append to your mantra here. Again, two-part answer. Number one, modularity. M-O-D-U-L-A-R-I-T-Y. Got it right the first time. Modularity. What we're building when we do these classes from which we can make objects is building our own set of Lego blocks. We'll get all of these customized little blocks of code that we don't have to go back in, like the linked list, ideally. It's been perfectly debugged. We can rely on that for anything. It's bulletproof, it's robust, all those good things. then anytime we need a linked list to implement a queue, to implement an ordered list, whatever reason, it's already there. We've got our very own homemade module, so we don't have to keep writing the same stinking code over and over and over again. That's actually not separate. These are not mutually exclusive from the other main reason, which is reusability. Reusability is a very pleasant side product of object-oriented programming, the linked list. We can, like I just said, we can reuse that anytime we need it for any other application. Now the modularity, I might have slightly been off target with that. A big reason for the modularity is so that if you're working on a project with a cast of thousands, maybe a development team of 12 people, then if you design your software in advance, then you can split it up into these classes, into these modules, and each person contribute, and in effect you're working on this giant project in parallel. That was actually the original reason for object-oriented programming, so that you could draw boundaries around chunks of code that could be implemented independently to later reassemble like a big jigsaw puzzle into a gigantic project like Safari for the Mac or Microsoft Word. I keep picking on that one. Those were all developed modularly. There was not some person sitting in a closet that was a wizard and came out with 50 million lines of code for Microsoft Word. No, every little piece was broken up. I had a former student that worked on, for almost his entire career. He's younger than I am, and I think he's already retired. But he did the little pop-up things that in Microsoft Word, when you float over a button and stay there too long with the mouse, what pops up? That can be somebody's career, believe it or not. How you do that. Now then, that should be enough to get your gears a turning and you're eager to go, but this is why we're here. This is stuff we're going to do. We're going to save time, we're going to save space, we're going to write modules that are going to be reusable, and we can put together big programs using these chunks of code. Oh, what fun! Keep those thoughts running as a background process throughout this whole module, and if you'll do that, we'll be great. I'll see you online.